we've seen in an awful long time. NFL honor ceremony. Matthew Stafford won his first MVP after throwing for 4,700 yards, 46 touchdowns, leading the NFL in both. He's the oldest player to win his first MVP in NFL history. He's the third oldest player ever to win the award. He won the award by just 5 points over Drake Maye. So it's the closest MVP race in terms of first place votes since Peyton Manning and Steve McNair were co-MVPs in 2003. And Stafford brought his daughters up on stage to accept the award and gave us his plans for next year in the process. Listen.
You're unbelievable cheerleaders for me. I appreciate it. I am so happy to have you at the games on the sideline with me, and I can't wait for you to cheer me on next year when we're out there kicking ass. And so I'll see you guys next year. Hopefully I'm not at this event, and we're getting ready for another game in SoFi. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much.
All right, Matthew, that's the way to announce it.
That's cool.
McVay cry. You see McVay?
Yes.
I'm coming back too.
McVay was the first one standing up.
That's got that extension too. Tell you what, but next time you curse in front of the kids, you got to say earmuffs. That's all I got to say. Earmuffs. You can say whatever you want.
Okay, did we get it right? Did the right man win the MVP award?
Most definitely. You look at the Los Angeles Rams, they played in the toughest division, the NFC West. Look at Matt Stafford's numbers versus the Seattle Seahawks defense. 961 yards, 8 touchdowns to 0 interceptions. He averaged 320 passing yards versus that defense. He was first in passing yards in the NFL and first in touchdowns and top 5 in just about every other category. So I agree with Matthew Stafford winning MVP of the league.
Jeff.
No, they did not. I would have went Drake Maye here. And listen, I understand like the Lifetime Achievement Award of Matt Stafford. He's unbelievable, played a great season. All those things were great. And you're going to talk to me about touchdowns and what he did against the Seahawks. He played 3 times. He knows the division very well. All that's good. Let's set up. In fact, Matt, bring up B14 for me. B14 for me. This is common opponents, Harry. Maye 6-0, Stafford 4-2. Maye 84-74 QBR. Is that a 20-plus point difference in QBR? Yes, it is, sir. Yes, it is. Everybody gives me TDs. Everybody gives it. By the way, he has more yards in total than Matt Stafford because he also uses his legs. Is it more difficult to try to stop somebody who can run and pass or just pass? Just answer. Okay, honestly.
Yes or no, Your Honor.
Yes.
I would say it's harder to go against somebody that's a dual threat.
Drake Maye has done that. And by the way, put all this in bow, put a little bow. He did it with less. He ain't got Puka, and he ain't got Devontae Adams, and he dang sure ain't got 12-plus 1-yard touchdowns. Hand that thing off 6 times. This is a totally different conversation.
Maye has a defense that's better.
Hold on. So disrespectful, though, because
it is not.
You're so spoiled. You got 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks. You know how hard it is to score, period, let alone to score
my
one.
back hurts from carrying 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks. I still got back issues from it. You know what I mean? Ask Rodgers and Manning. My back is still sore.
We were that's
because you were carrying their wallet. That's all.
This argument was going on during the break. Tell the story about when you got a turnover on the 10-yard line.
Yeah, listen, we got a turnover on the 10-yard line. We punted in Baltimore. Like, you better stop. You understand the type of quarterbacks I played with? I got a list of the worst quarterbacks in the history of football. You want to talk about how hard it is to throw
on the 10-yard line?
He did.
There's one game, and you need a quarterback to take you to the promised land. You taking Drake Maye over Matthew Stafford?
Drake right now?
Come
Drake
on,
Maye.
no. Hell to the no.
Get offset.
First of all,
get offset.
First of all, you should see Jeff. As soon as you hit him with the numbers against Seattle, he got the right.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. I'm like, nah.
Listen, Drake Maye went against basically the Atlantic Coastal Conference, right? He get the Jets in Miami twice.
Why you?
Did you miss common opponents?
Yeah, but how many of those did they have a backup quarterback at that time?
Oh my word!
I'm not sure how we've decided we're going to judge their seasons based on their performances against the Panthers, Saints, Titans, Falcons, Bucks, and Ravens.
Okay,
how many of the Ravens didn't have Lamar?
Okay, so are we going to compare ones in the Super Bowl, ones at home?
Well, yeah, I mean,
okay, so let's do that way too. Drake Maye's at the Super Bowl. It's Matt Stafford's at home taking the award.
That's a
I know you're not doing that.
I just did it.
Okay,
he played a backup. Why had to play a backup quarterback to get there?
I can't help what he had to play.
Of why the voting was as close as it was. Let me go through a couple of other awards quickly. Mike Vrabel wins Coach of the Year in his first season with the Patriots. Coached the team to 14 wins and an appearance in the Super Bowl this year after they won just 4 games a year ago. Bart, did Vrabel have the best coaching year? If they win this Super Bowl, could this be the best coaching job ever?
I think it was the best coach job. I mean, I had maybe Ben Johnson slightly. I think nobody saw the Bears winning that division and what we thought was going to be the toughest division. But listen, you know, the history is written by the winners, and he's the winner. He's in the Super Bowl, so he's deserving. If Chicago would have went a little farther, I had Ben Johnson with the harder job.
Shanahan wasn't even a finalist,
Which is crazy.
and he had the whole team decimated due to
We're spoiled. We're spoiled. We're used to him being
It was a
great.
great year for that award.
It's a regular season award anyway. And finally, speaking of awards that mean everything to Jeff, Joe Tooney of the Bears
Let's go.
won the inaugural Protector of the Year award, giving to the league's most outstanding lineman.
I love this. I mean, you know, what a great year for him. Again, we just talked about Chicago surprising the world. A lot of that started up front, being led by Joe Tooney, who we've seen play tackle, play guard. He's a kind of do-it-all guy. He'll do whatever he can for his team. Ton of respect for the way they got. And I just love offensive linemen being awarded in front of everybody. So rarely it gets discussed and talked about, you know, in the trenches, but tip of the cap, man. So much respect for him. I like Aaron Brewer, you know, for me, the center for the Dolphins, had a lights out year. But those guys are even getting discussed in the media, and people are finding out who they are. That's what I love about
You were a part of getting this award put into the, for those who don't know. Point favorite, what does the smart money say?
The spread. It's a relatively new bet. I think it has a chance of catching on. We're going to lay the 4.5 here with the Seahawks. I want to focus on that New England schedule that everyone gets so banged up about. 20 games this season, 14 against teams with a losing record. They scored 30 points per game in those matchups. Look at the 6 against teams with a winning record. Big struggles for Drake Maye. 8 turnovers, 27 sacks taken. Now you're stepping up in class against the number 1 defense in the NFL. Seattle wins. Seattle wins by double digits.
All right, so you like the Seahawks, but then how about May himself? Do we have a prop for him?
I'll give you 2. I like him over 37.5 rushing yards, but the focus here, the better play, is that May throws an interception. Back again to those 6 games against teams with a winning record. 4 interceptions in those games. Now you're matching up against a Seattle defense that was number 7 in the NFL in interceptions. I like Seattle to play with a lead. What does that mean? New England's trailing, which means New England's throwing the ball late. Seattle's going to be able to pin their ears back on defense. They're going to see the pass coming. If we don't have it by the 4th quarter, we're getting that pick in the 4th quarter.
All right, then give me one more.
Patriots team total, you're betting the over-under on how many points they score. 20.5 is the number. I would play under. 3 playoff games so far this postseason. The offense is generating just 15 points per game. Now you're facing a Seattle defense that's number 1 in scoring, number 1 in efficiency, number 1 in EPA. The Seahawks have given up 10 or fewer points in 5 of their last 8 games. I see them limiting what New England does, and again, winning this game by double digits.
All right, so Joe, in every way favoring the Seahawks in this Super Bowl, and despite the postseason run, Drake Maye has struggled against teams that were 500 or better. He was just talking about it. Same number of turnovers in 6 games against teams over 500 as compared to 14 games against all other teams this year. And so there are a couple of different ways to look at this thing. And Jeff, I'm going to start with you on this.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about what the opposing offenses have struggled against the Patriots. And we have talked about, well, Justin Herbert, and he didn't have any offensive line play, and C.J. Stroud played an unbelievably bad game, and then you had, Stidham, and then the weather and all that kind of stuff. Lost underneath that is that the Patriots were an excellent defense all season long, and they will need to be that again on Sunday if they're going to have a chance to win. And they got a guy right in the middle of that defensive line that you think it all starts with.
Yeah, Milton Williams, Super Bowl champion Milton Williams, right? And now he's over in New England. And look what he did against all pros last week against Denver. But they've been doing this all season. And you think about he and Christian Barmore and talking about their ability to push the pocket inside. And I want people to understand, this is not just about sacks, y'all. When quarterbacks have to move off their spot and they have to reset their feet, the timing of offensive plays gets taken out. That is where Sam Darnold struggles. When Sam Darnold is in a clean pocket, no pressure, he has a 73 QBR. When he is pressured, 16. That is a massive difference. The interior really matters. All quarterbacks get accustomed to guys coming around the edge. They can step up in the pocket. Milton Williams, Christian Barmore, getting pressure, pushing the pocket. Again, not just sacks, but make him move, make him reset. Now you give your defense the full chance.
Look at the run defense as well. 12 games with Milton Williams this year. They gave up about 80 rushing yards per game. In the 5 games without, 140 rushing yards. That's a 60-yard difference.
Absolute
Insane.
beast.
Remember, there was that long stretch this season where they hadn't given up a 50-yard rushing game. So the Patriot defense is no joke. All the attention has gone to the Seattle defense and all of this. And I think The conventional wisdom, as we open the show by saying, is all about how Drake Maye has to do something remarkable. How about Sam Darnold? I mean, you've been following him, obviously, since he was on the Jets, and this is the culmination of a long journey. He can forever rewrite his narrative with a big game on Sunday, but it will not be easy against this defense.
Well, ultimately, I think the football guys ultimately give both people the adversity and see who deals with it best, right? I think Sam Darnold's going to throw an interception or have a bad play or turnover. How does he react to it? Does it become like the same old, like, oh, here we go again? Or does Drake Maye try and do too much, trying to be a star and a hero in the moment, understanding that sometimes the punt is the best play available? So it's about who handles the situational football, who handles, the 2-minute warning, who handles, 4th and 1. And it's about situational football. That's what these games come down to. You're going to have both teams are going to be tight. They're going to be punting the football. Special teams are going to be huge. I think you think about Rashid Shaheed, what a weapon that is. And I want to know if the Patriots are going to decide to kick the ball to him, or do they just say, I'll give you the ball on the 30 because I don't want this guy to flip the field.
I think special teams is big in this matchup on both sides, right? When
Absolutely.
you look at Marcus Jones with the ability to take a punt return back and Rashid Shaheed. So, which one of these special teams unit, because they're called special teams for a reason. The first thing you're supposed to do as a returner is make sure that you get the possession.
Secure it.
That's the reason why the Los Angeles Rams are sitting at home right now.
Kick.
So, Rashid Shaheed being able to start a playoff game off with a kickoff return for a touchdown, but then that pivotal Thursday night football game versus the Los Angeles Rams that basically gave them a #1 seed, having a punt return and sparking that comeback. So if you're the coverage team of the New England Patriots, I agree with you, Bart. I'm trying to figure out, are we going to kick to this guy, or are we just going to say, hey, let's line up and play defense and give them the ball at 30-yard line?
Three-phase game, there's no doubt. I love the special teams conversations because we know it can be a massive factor. I lost a Super Bowl with an onside kick to open a second half. It's those who have the guts to make those calls. I think both coaches potentially could do it. I would lean a little more towards Vrabel, would be a little more to play, a little loose in that. But let me just say this to when you were talking about strategy and situational football. As you're looking at both these teams, first and second down, like people can kind of take it out, right? But it's the matchups, right? Are we going to double JSN? We're going to put Gonzalez on Kupp. We're going to put him on Rashid Shaheed. Like, how do those things, how do they take shape as the game progresses? Because how they do it in the first quarter may not be how they do it in the fourth quarter. But those are the things that we'll be watching. Because, again, everybody talks about, like, these things like they happen every snap. That's just not the case. It literally comes down to 10 to 12 plays. And it's how do those players make exceptional plays in those moments? And that's really
and you don't know when they're going to come up.
You have no idea.
And against Peyton and good quarterbacks or good coordinators, we had to have 2 game plans.
No doubt.
We switch it up in the second half so that we can make sure that we bust our own tendencies, because you look at what Seattle did when they put JSN in the backfield. They knew that they were going to box it one high, first inside, first outside.
Goes right.
And it created a receiver matchup against a linebacker. So it's about that stuff too. Using what you know. That's right. When we sent you guys home in the playoffs, which was rare, right? We knew that you guys were going to have a special check for Brandon Stokely.
That's right.
And when you saw cover 0. So we showed cover 0, we've dropped out of it, and went and made the play.
We'll see where all this leads us on Sunday.
Stokely, what's wrong, man?
We told you last night at the awards that Matthew Stafford and Mike Vrabel won the biggest awards, but the biggest honors of the night came as they announced the 2026 Pro Football Hall of Fame class.
Okay.
And what I don't want to do is allow the accomplishments of these 5 men to be overshadowed by those who did not join them. Congratulations to Drew Brees and Larry Fitzgerald and Luke Kuechly, Adam Vinatieri, and Roger Craig, all of whom are richly deserving of the highest possible award that a football player can receive.
Having said that,
unfortunately, so much of the attention is going to be on those who did not get honored last night. I particularly hate this for Roger Craig, because Roger Craig is the one who did emerge from that group of 5 that included Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft. And people are going to look at Roger Craig, and rather than saying he was the first running back ever to have 1,000 yards receiving and 1,000 yards rushing in a season, and only 2